Here, of course, we've been hearing reactions throughout the day following the sad news of the passing of rock legend Ozzy Osbourne. He was 76 years old, and so many folks are weighing in on how they feel tonight, not just about hearing the news, but just the legacy they feel that he left behind. Before we dive into our interview, we wanted to kind of introduce everyone who's joining with this conversation, because we got a couple faces here in the Live Impact News studio. Of course, y'all already know James Brierton, our producer, who's been with us for this entire evening stream. But we have joining us now, we have Nathaniel Puente, who is part of our digital team. So folks who are on WCNC.com or any of our social media platforms or any of really our online platforms, Nathaniel is one of the folks behind that work. But also, as you can probably tell from his T-shirt, a huge fan of Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne. So Nathaniel's got some great insights and also some questions that he's going to bring to our guest who's joining us now. We have Colton Beasley, who's on the line with us here on Live Impact News. Colton, you are with the Ozzy Osbourne tribute band Flying High Again. You're based out of Columbia, South Carolina. So I'll start things off here. I mean, how are you feeling tonight? What was your reaction when you found out that Ozzy Osbourne had passed away?
Saddened, for sure.
Yeah.
I think lots of folks knew that it would be at some point coming. You know, we were sort of somewhat prepared for it by just his illness and things that have happened in the past couple months and years. But, you know, no one wants to see the day. So saddened for sure.
And so, I mean, with that, I did want to ask you, you know, how you got involved with this tribute band, because clearly, I mean, he is an artist who speaks to you and your bandmates. So what is it about his style, his message, whatever it is for you? How did you get into this to begin with?
So bandmates of mine had learned a bunch of Ozzy songs and were playing, and we were all going to plan to go to Charlotte to see him perform. He had to schedule or reschedule and then cancel those dates due to his Parkinson's. And we just loved the guy, loved the music. I think what drew me to him as a frontman, as a performer, was that he is so focused on the audience and the enjoyment of them. You know, go crazy and everything else he does, man. It's just to excite the fans. And I think he's very outwardly focused, and man, that's something to be proud of.
Colton, hi, it's Nathaniel. What are some of your favorite moments? You know, I mean, I know you mentioned that in 2019 you guys were planning to go see him, but then his tour dates were unfortunately canceled because of his Parkinson's diagnosis. But before that, what are some of your favorite moments of Ozzy Osbourne growing up?
Man, I learned Mr. Crowley on guitar somewhat. Did not learn the solo, but just learning those initial songs, those riffs, got me started in playing, and I've always had a deep respect for the musicianship of everyone in his band. So that blew me away. But then at I believe 15, 16, I got to see him at concert, and everyone was saying he's gonna, you know, not be the performer that he was 20 years ago or when I saw him in the 80s or whatnot. I loved the album Scream, and that's the reason why we went to the show, because we loved the album, and I just listened to it until it basically stopped playing. And seeing him live, he had such energy, physical energy, running around, waving at the crowd, you know, throwing buckets of water. He did the thing. And that really got me, because, man, you could see it inside of him like a fire on stage. And so even at his age, I think then he would have been 66 or 67 maybe. Fantastic performer. So just big love for the fans, man. He's got such an energy that he pulls from the audience, and it's a reciprocal thing. And he's just spreading, you know, himself and positivity through the crowd by waving at them and singing and watching them sing back. I think he lived off of that. So seeing him not be able to perform anymore is saddening, but you know, he left a massive legacy, and in the wake of his passing, thousands of musicians are going to come out. So I think he'll be making a big impact for a very, very long time.
If you kind of had to summarize what Ozzy means, you know, I know we're seeing all these tributes on all these different news sites. You know, people might know Crazy Train, people might know a story or two about the Osbournes or whatever, but what exactly does Ozzy Osbourne mean to heavy metal and rock music? When I pick up this album, when I Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, like this is where it all started, right? This is where heavy metal started. Like this is our cornerstone, the groundwork on which we were all laid. Every guy with weird long hair like you and I, or who wears black shirts every day, this is where it started. So to you, what does Ozzy Osbourne just mean to you, and what does Black Sabbath mean to you as a being, as a metalhead, right?
Man, I think what Ozzy means to me, and Sabbath the band too. I mean, exuberant energy, but they were just themselves in a time that there was so much other music going on, nothing like what they did. They had to be pretty fearless to put something like that out there, and not knowing how the world was going to accept it, not knowing what the crowds would do. So I think that they really had to get that grit in them, but they loved the music so much that they wanted to. And I think that's what Ozzy means to me. He just loved the music so much that he would still be performing, just a couple weeks ago, you know, even though he couldn't stand and couldn't sing as well as he might have in the past. That's what it means to me, man.
Really cool. You guys are from the Carolinas. You've obviously toured across the country. Your music and performing and paying tribute to Ozzy and Black Sabbath has afforded you the ability to do that. What exactly is it as a performer that you hope people take away as trying to emulate Ozzy Osbourne?
Man, I think you got to do it from the heart. I think Ozzy would have done it from the heart, and I try to reel myself in when I think of, oh, Ozzy did this, Ozzy wore this, Ozzy said this, It's one thing to imitate someone, but it's another thing to have respect for what they did and why they did it. And I try to do that. I hope that the fans that come to our shows are very pleased and they have a great time and they think that as well. But at the end of the day, to me, it's about respectfully putting the music out there and the energy and, the madness, the aura, the fan interaction and participation that made Ozzy such a successful household name. It was because he, had a big love for the fans, and I feel like I do as well. I know everyone in our band does, and every show that we have, we are just blasted with energy from them. So sometimes I think, man, this is kind of what Ozzy felt like, man. He's just very grateful, very loved, just wonderful. It's a wonderful experience, and I think Ozzy lived that very well. He made a good image for that.
I slowly just want to show off my vinyl collection. But, you talk about Ozzy as the person, the madman, Bark at the Moon. You think of the Diary of a Madman cover. You think of the Blizzard of Oz cover, right? So many crazy things that he was as a character. Obviously, you probably don't try to go out snorting ants or any of the crazy things Ozzy Osbourne allegedly did. But do you have a favorite story of Ozzy as the person? I mean, I've seen lists of dozens and dozens of crazy things this man allegedly got up to. So kind of a miracle that he lived to 2025, right? I think is what the general consensus is. But do you have a favorite crazy, wild Ozzy Osbourne story that you like to read about?
Man, this is actually a lived one. So I'll tell you the reason that we kick our show off with Bark at the Moon. When I saw Ozzy live on the Scream tour, the first song was Bark at the Moon, and he was at the PNC Pavilion, and there were fireworks, the flamethrowers and stuff like that. When the blast went off, it scared him something fierce. He looks around, like you could physically see that, he kind of jolted and looked around, and the entire crowd is screams, break the side, singing the song to him. And he kind of pulls himself together, jumps right back into singing, and I was just like, yes, he's not just solely lip syncing. He's doing the thing, man. I love that though. It was real. I think that was cool.
Really cool, really cool. And obviously, you're there wearing an Ozzy shirt, and you've got all the records, I'm sure, and you guys play a full set of Ozzy stuff whenever you can. But do you have any plans to do a tribute show in the near future? Or I know obviously the news just came in today, but do you think there's anything in the works of you guys paying a full big tribute to Ozzy in the Carolinas at some point?
That would be very, very cool. We do have a show coming up in August, on August 16th at Amos's South End. We are there with mostly crew, and we're going to plan something very special for that night. But man, any of our shows are special, and even though, we've played before he was alive and now that he's gone, kind of feels weird. At the end of every show, I'd say, let's everyone scream as loud as we can so that he can hear us all the way in England, and we all scream Ozzy forever. So it's gonna feel different for sure.
Awesome, Colton. Well, I think that's just about all I had for you, unless there's anything else about Ozzy Osbourne, anything else about Flying High Again you want to get out there, kind of promote.
Yeah, August 16th, man, and we've got some shows coming up. If folks want to find us, they can find us on Facebook, online, Flying High Again, and we'd love to see them at a show if they're Ozzy fans, or bring your kids, bring your grandpas, grandmas, anyone. I've seen the gamut of the entire world at the Ozzy show, so I really look forward to seeing folks.
Well, before we wrap things up here, gentlemen, I really, by the way, just loved seeing your back and forth, because I could just see your passion for not just music in general, but this particular music and how it clearly speaks to you. So I'm going to pose a question to each of you. I guess I'll start with Nathaniel, because we haven't heard your take, recently on why this music does speak to you, because I feel like, whether you grew up with it or maybe you're kind of like of a new generation, you're just discovering it, there's a lot of messaging to this music, and I think it speaks to maybe like a questioning of society, and I think that's kind of an allure for some people, but I'm just curious to hear what you think.
Man, that's always such a hard question to answer. Like, people say, why do you like this music so much? Why do you make it your entire personality? I think it's just so overall encompassing. I just really like guitars. I just really like the loud guitars, the bass, the drums, the singing. You mentioned the messaging, the lyricism is sometimes pretty cool. Some bands do that pretty well, I think. It's just kind of a lifestyle, you build yourself around, and I'm sure Colton can attest to this. There's when you like metal music, you don't just like music. Like, you're in a group, you're in a kind of a society of people. I almost wanted to really degrade ourselves, but I'm not going to do that on live Impact News. You're in a group of people who just really love this music, and really, it's a community, it's a family, and I know that's a little cheesy to say, but it really is just a group of people who just really love this music. We really love guitars and loud music and the lyrics and all that. So that would be my answer to why we like this music so much.
Yeah, Colton, what's your answer? I mean, I see you nodding your head as Nathaniel's speaking. I feel like maybe you're probably in the same vein here.
Certainly. And Nathaniel had mentioned Iron Maiden, so I'm going to take a leap. I think that he, same reason I got into this music, and from the get-go, I like guitar. My parents play and family plays and stuff like that, but I got into this music specifically because I went to a concert and everyone was everyone's friend immediately. There was no question. It was, you don't have money to buy a water or a beer, you need someone to watch your spot while you go. Everyone was everyone's friend. I think in a world where everyone's looking for friends, and it's, where social media and everything else, we're kind of isolated in some ways, but concerts, especially where it feels like the folks around you are neighbors that you didn't meet yet. That's very cool. Iron Maiden was that to me. Ozzy was that to me. So many metal bands have been that to me at their shows, and that's something special, man. Not a lot of music has that same kind of energy, and nothing against any other kinds of music. I love all kinds, but definitely, if you go to a metal show and it's your first time ever, and you're there, folks will take you in under their wing. So,
yeah, a lot of big hearts. A lot of big hearts,
yeah.
I know. Under all that hair. I love it. Anything else, gentlemen, before we wrap things up?
No, just love Ozzy, appreciate him. I'm just very grateful that he came into this world and did what he did, and we're going to miss him. It's a very somber day, but it's a chance to memorialize him and remember the icon. And as I said earlier today on Live Impact News, in 100 years, 200 years, we're going to remember him. Like, in 2025, we look at Mozart and Beethoven and all of those people who are absolutely legendary. We're going to look at Ozzy Osbourne in the same way.
Yeah. Colton, anything
Certainly.
from you?
Can we wrap it with an Ozzy Forever on 3? 1, 2, 3. Ozzy
forever.
Thank you.
Nathaniel, did you do it? There we go.
Nathaniel couldn't hear.
Oh, okay,
Just to
sorry.
explain. Yeah.
Colton, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And folks, once again, check out Flying High again if you're interested in that tribute band and the show coming up next month.